So yeah, yeah. So just be ready. So I figured out how to get the recordings so that people can listen to us. I'm really excited about that. This mood disorder support group now is being recorded. Okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Cindy, we've known each other for many, many years, a good friend and colleague, and I appreciate you asking me to do this. And I want to welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody. It's good to see the community effort and involvement. I'm going to get right into it. What is CBT? And I am going to try to, there we go. That's a good one. Share. This is the basic conceptual model for CBT. It basically looks at how feelings, mood, and thoughts and behavior all affect each other. They are distinct, they are separate entities, but they affect each other. And being able to differentiate, this is how I feel, but this is what I'm going to do, this is what I feel, and this is how I'm going to think, is one of the underlying ideas behind CBT. And now, nope, that's not it. Stop share, there we go. There we go. Hey, technology.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do, let me back up. CBT is not better or worse. There are so many different strategies that are out there. There's ACT, DBT, EMDR, CBT. They are all helpful, and one is not better. It's just one might click better with someone else than another type of modality. So whatever I'm talking about is supportive, not replacing. So I want to be clear about that. I want to start with, actually, let me back up. CBT comes from a guy, Aaron Beck, and there's a couple of variations. There's Albert Ellis. Does anybody remember Albert Ellis in the 60s and 70s? He was a psychiatrist, psychologist up in New York, and he came up with the phrase, don't should on yourself.
Oh, nice.
You get it? Don't should on yourself. So for people who have a lot of, I should do this and I should do that internally, he encourages trying to let that go, that internal pressure. Another person who was part of this genre, William Glasser. Anybody familiar with him? Reality therapy and control theory. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, here we go. Okay, and now I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about that. Share. So William Glasser came up with reality therapy control theory, and he says our lives are kind of like cars, and it is a front-wheel drive car. The two front wheels are the acting, the behavior, and the thinking, the cognitions. The back wheels are feeling and physiology, what our mood is, and just the general how we're feeling physiologically, whether we're tense or tired or shaky. And he emphasizes that if you're a front wheel drive car and you're trying to drive using your back wheels, you're going to be spinning your wheels in the mud. You're not going to be getting anywhere. And so he would encourage the thinking and the acting. In other words, coming up with an idea of what somebody needs to do, which is goal-based, value-based, productive, and then act accordingly. I don't know if anybody's heard of ACT, which is another type of therapy, but they really encourage folks to do value-based behavior, commit to acting on your values as opposed to acting on your mood or any types of thinking that are not effective. So the C part, cognitive, there's all kinds of studies about different types of thinking, catastrophic thinking, overgeneralizing. We call them ANTS, A-N-T-S, automatic negative thoughts, you know, just pop-ups of, oh, I have an initial trigger and a thought about this thing which is skewed, like this always happens to me, that type of thought. And so in the therapy, we look at that because that could then lead to how people feel and also what they do, their behavior. So now I want to do an experiment to kind of really nail down what this thing is all about. The experiment has 4 different parts, all right? And we're going to go through them very quickly. I would like all of you to please lift your right arm, and now please put it down. Did I make you do that? Yes or no? I asked you to, but did I make you do it? No, I didn't. So somehow internally there is an element of will, choice, being able to control what we do or what we say. Anytime the word empowerment comes up, which I support, I try to say I encourage people empowerment by their choices. In therapy, the world of therapy, empowering clients is important to make them feel like, okay, I'm intact and I'm living my life, and encouraging them to make good choices, behave in a way that is in line with your values and goals helps empowerment. So behavior is very important, and sometimes it's not always described, discussed, or emphasized. So that was one part of the experiment, which was to lift your arm and bring it down. We all have control over our muscles. I'm going to say something a little bit crude, cock-a-doodle, and now I'm going to say something else. Hello, how are you? I had total control of what came out of my mouth, okay? So if anybody says, well, I shouted at the person or cursed at them because I was mad, well, you were mad, that's your mood, but you're still in control of your behavior, all right? So now the second part of the experiment is, can I please have a volunteer? It's going to be fun. It's not going to be embarrassing. Anybody want to volunteer? Megan, is your thing on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, so you are the guinea pig. I would like you to imagine standing in your kitchen, looking at your sink, and I would like you to describe for me what you see.
Lots of dishes. And stuff stuck on them.
Yeah. What else?
A dirty sponge.
Right.
Lots of dishes piled up next to it too.
Okay, keep going. Anything else? Is there a dish towel? Is there soap?
There's soap.
Are there plants? Are there hanging utensils?
There's a drying rack behind it, drying rack next to it.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
Megan, thank you so much. That was great. Now, did I make you think that?
No, you made me think. No, made isn't the right word. You said it, so it made me think of it.
Yeah, I asked you, and then you had to, kind of like a computer, double click on the brain, which is like a hard drive, and bring into your virtual memory the image and then describe it. Basically, you changed your thinking. I simply asked. You were the one who did it. And it's really interesting. It's sort of like an X factor of where does that come from? That ability to go, I'm going to lift my arm and bring it down. I'm going to change, what I think. Is that will? Is it the self, like self-psychology? That's a discussion for where that origin comes from. Is it spirit? Who knows? But we have the ability to do it. So Megan, thank you so much. The next experiment is, hey, Gary, how are you? You're chosen. Can you turn on your audio?
Yes.
Excellent. Mr. Gary, I'm going to ask you, how are you feeling right now, by the way?
Very curious and excited about the things that you're saying.
Great. I want you to suddenly change your mood and how you're feeling to being scared. Go.
Well, it was one of utter joy this morning when I was trying to listen to my 4-year-old grandson tell me about the dinosaur that I had to take for him and put in our corral in the train village. It was a combination of delight and hysterical inferences he was telling me. So, that's what I have to offer.
Okay. Could you suddenly change your feeling, what it is now, from being curious and interested to being angry or scared or sad? Can you suddenly, by will, change it?
Well, I unfortunately, it's easier and easier to do that. We're not supposed to talk about political things, but I just watched the news and here's this crazy, I'm sorry, this female Republican from Georgia that is confronting these poor people from Parkland and claiming that the shooting is done by people SS. For some reason, I think it's projection. I think it's all these people are violent and nasty, and they project that on us. We're not. I'm not, but they project that on us because that's what they are, and they think that's what I would do to them. And
so are you getting angry talking about it right now?
I get loud when I get angry too. So she'll tell you.
So Gary, I heard you did great. I heard what you said. So the interesting thing here from a CBT point of view is there may not have necessarily been a direct line by choice, self, or will to changing mood. There might have been I remember that news clip, which is thinking, and that is changing my mood. So the question that I'm trying to present to you is, do we have the ability to just automatically change how we feel? And the answer is not really. We have to do something else, and then the byproduct is how we're changes our feeling state, okay? So for example, I'm pretty calm right now, but if I thought of a time when there was something really unfair or unjust, I'd probably start getting agitated. That's thought then leading to feeling. So Gary, thank you very much. You were a great sport. So the next thing is, Matthew, you're on my screen, so I have to pick on you. I'm sorry about that, but so the experiment that I have for you is, can you, by sitting there and sheer will, change your physiological state?
Like how?
Can you make your heart rate go down? Yes, no?
When I'm driving, my heart rate goes up.
Yeah, well, driving a 2,000-pound metallic weapon with other people being unconscious usually makes us pretty stressed. But can you have a direct effect on your physiology?
Well, when I do things, I have a heart rate that just goes up. Like last week, I was called for jury duty, and I had to appear. I didn't have to serve for jury duty, but I was questioned by a judge. He had some questions for me, and that made me really nervous, and my heart rate went up.
Sure. That was because of the circumstances and feeling put on the spot, but you didn't actually make it change by just sheer internal will. So you're a great sport too. I want to move on with this aspect. Within the model, we have different aspects of who we are. There's physiology, there's our behavior, there's our mood, there's how we think, and we could also add spirit, okay? And in this model, it says that we don't have a direct effect on our physiology. If we're feeling tense, yeah, we might be able to relax, but there's not that much like direct impact by sheer will. The same occurs for mood. We cannot just say, I'm going to be happy. But if we do thinking and doing, cognition and behavior in a different direction, then we can have a positive effect on our mood and our physiology. So does that all make sense? Okay. So then we get to the B part. I completely support the C part, and part of the dialogue in therapy is when someone is saying, my boss was really mean to me and I think that they're trying to push me out. That's all of the thinking. And in therapy, we listen to people, hear them out about what their concerns are. Lois, do you have a question? Can't hear you, Lois. Still can't hear you, sorry. Can we wait for a little bit? Go ahead, Lois.
What does have an effect on your physiology?
Getting exercise, being able to use mindfulness, and that's thinking and redirecting to release muscles, breathing, okay, which is a behavior. We have control over our breathing. Breathing is an interesting phenomenon. It's both involuntary and voluntary. In other words, it happens when we don't think, and then we could control it by going, okay, we could have a direct effect on it. And then the byproduct is physiological relaxation, okay?
Okay.
So there's the C part. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different thoughts that can pop up that might not be productive. And I want to talk about the B part, that people can, no matter what they're thinking, no matter what they're feeling, and no matter what their physiology is, do things that they know are productive, healthy, and moving towards goals. And that through that, hopefully, eventually, there will be an internal feeling of, wow, I feel better, all right? The term fake it till you make it, I don't really like that. I do like the idea of act yourself into right thinking, all right? In hospitals, even if someone is in a psychiatric hospital, there is a day schedule. They do have to get up at the regular time. They can't just sleep in. They have to go to the group meetings. They have to go to lunch. They have to go to therapy, talk to their doctor. So there is this is what you need to do as part of your treatment. In group homes, I used to work in a lot of group homes. We would have a structured day, and there were things that had to be done. If somebody had a good day or a bad day, or they were in a conflict with someone else in the group home, it didn't matter. Recovery programs and post-parole programs have a behavioral program, a behavioral aspect. This is what you need to do. And as somebody does those productive things on a regular basis, their mood will change, they will feel better, and their thinking will be less toxic. It's kind of like if you exercise on a regular basis for 2 months, you're going to see the changes. You're not going to see it if you only do the behavioral change for one day. So I do encourage folks to really put behavior change into their life. So for example, if I work with a lot of kids. If I have a student, 14, and they're like, I don't like this schoolwork, it's really boring. When am I ever going to need to know this, the Pythagorean theorem, who cares? And then they start letting go of their assignments and doing something distracting and fun. Well, I ask them, when your schoolwork is piling up, do you ever have that little voice in your head of, I should really do my homework? And what do you think I usually hear from them? I usually hear, yeah, it's kind of getting in the way of me playing Warcraft or Minecraft. And so I encourage them to be able to sit down, do the schoolwork, get it done so that you can then play the rest of the night. And you don't have to worry about that sort of internal, you should really be doing something. The same thing can happen with anxiety. If someone's feeling anxious, I'm so anxious, what's going to happen? I have this big project that I have to do. Are people going to judge me if I do it wrong? Will I do it right? Will I do it wrong? If that anxiety is getting in the way of someone behaving, doing the thing that they need to do, it'll probably only make them more nervous. And more times than not, if someone sits down and actually does the project, oh, that wasn't so bad. That's usually what I hear. It's like, yeah, I don't know why I don't know why it became such a big deal and it prevented me from doing what I needed to do. But once I sat down and did it, it kind of rolled along. So I really try to encourage a lot of clients who are becoming stagnant in their mood to get over the hump. You know what I mean by get over the hump? Get over whatever mood or thoughts are getting in the way of doing your ADLs, your activities of daily living, or your basic tasks. And more times than not, when people complete their tasks, they feel better. The term self-esteem, well, if you ask somebody what does it mean, usually they will say how one feels about themselves. And yes, that is one of the definitions. Another definition that I heard, which I really like, is self-esteem can be understood as the difference between potential and actual. If someone has the potential to do something and they're actually doing that, then that's going to lead to a better mood, better self-esteem. If someone has the ability and potential to do something, but they're not, that gap is what causes low self-esteem. So being able to have someone actually complete whatever the tasks that they have, work tasks, cleaning the apartment, paying taxes, going to the doctor, doing homework, calling Spectrum, whatever it is, can lead to a feeling of I am taking care of myself. I'm doing the things I need to do in my life. My mood or fears or sadness or stagnation or depression or irritability is not getting in the way of me doing it. And I'm taking care of myself, I'm moving forward. So that's the B part, the behavior. Being able to find that sense of I do control what I do. I'm going to make choices. And despite whatever mood or physiology, whether I'm tired or feeling edgy, I will still do what I need to do. So that's the general idea. And I'm going to take a minute here and yeah, any questions? Go ahead, Matthew. Matthew, did you have a question? Can't hear you, buddy.
You mentioned, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
You mentioned taking care of stuff and paying taxes. This week I filed my taxes and I was really dreading that, and I'm just relieved that I have that over with and I'm done with it. So I like to file early because the earlier you file your taxes, the earlier you'll get your refund back. So I was just relieved having that done. That's what I wanted to say.
And that's what I'm talking about. And beforehand, there was all of the dread of like, oh my God, how much am I going to owe? And how long is it going to take me? And where's my receipts? And all of that stuff, which is blocking someone from doing it. But once you did it, you were like, oh, I got that taken care of.
And I don't have to worry about it for another year.
There you go. And I should practice what I preach, because sometimes I wait until April 14th to do my taxes. So
I'm not a procrastinator. I like to file early.
I hear you. Well, thank you for giving that example. That helps kind of solidify what I was talking about. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions that folks have? Yes, Cindy.
I'm looking to model. Raise the hand and then I can unmute you. I would add a little piece that with mood disorders, there may be sort of a chronic depression, a chronic anxiety, a chronic irritability, right? And especially with the bipolar, there's a flavor of a mood disturbance. And the kind of things that Jeff's talking about are even maybe little steps, little ways that you can turn the car that help the overall system. So that the suggestions are not that, your depression is not an excuse to get in the way, you should push through depression. It's about how do I help in the littlest ways to move into wellness. And one of the things that I really appreciate, Jeff, is that you're so skillful in how to build the little tiny, I could do that. You know, I can't clean the kitchen, but I can wipe off this part of the counter. I can see myself doing that, and which is the chipping away of stuff.
Yeah, let me see if I can, oh, darn. Or is it still, nope, I think I got, oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I am going to share my screen in order to reinforce what you just said. Let's do this.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Isn't that great? That really puts into a graphic the idea of being able to take smaller steps.
That is great.
Yep.
And
So
exactly.
Yeah. So if someone is trying to reach too high or climb the ladder too fast, well, they might slip and fall. But if someone is just easily pacing themselves and doing it 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, then they will start moving towards their goals. They'll probably recognize it, feel better, like, wow, I'm actually doing it. So this exemplifies in a cool graphic the idea of taking small steps.
Yeah.
I totally support taking small steps, because sometimes if somebody goes too far, like I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and I'm going to be like Rocky and I'm going to, drink 3 eggs. Do you remember Rocky, the movie? I'm going to drink 3 eggs and then I'm going to go, running through Philadelphia. And it's like, no. You're probably going to do that for 2 days. And then after 2 days, for the next 3 days, you're going to be in bed recovering. Okay. Sometimes if someone tries to go too far, the pendulum swings back. And so that's why being able to do those, make the change, solidify, and then build, make the change, solidify, make the change. And then you might have to pull it back, but not all the way here, but, just a little bit and titrate, So that's the idea of being able to really say, these are the things that I'm going to do today. And can I forward that graphic? I will see if I could find that and forward it. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jen. Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I'm curious, like in your work with your, whether it's pediatrics or adults, and you're working on these baby steps, because some of the clients that I work with have trouble with conceptual understanding or the concept of like what finished actually looks like, like in the basic example of like, you finish a math worksheet, some young people think, okay, well, if I finish the math worksheet, then that means that I did all the problems. But like the reality is that it's not finished until it's actually in the teacher's hands so that you can get the grade. So I'm just wondering, how much does like the conceptual work and the future thinking play into what you're talking about?
You're raising an excellent point. And with both the child and the parent in the session,
right? It's even more important with parents and adults.
Yeah, but I will break down where's the snag, very neutrally, not interrogating. Work harder? No, work smarter. So for example, did you know you had an assignment? Did you bring the assignment and any materials home from school? Did you, when you were home, do the assignment? Here's one. Did you actually put it back in your book bag, or is it still on your desk at home? Did you bring your book bag to school? And then did you hand it? You see how there's a couple of places where things can fall apart? So trying to find out where's the snag and then coming up with a plan for that, like a folder that goes back and forth, or the teacher emails, or the child writes it down. Whatever the problem solving needs to be, we target that stopgap. We do a stopgap. Does that make sense? Yeah, because there are some kids who forget to write it down. There are some kids who bring it home and they have the ability, like they were listening in school, they know the assignment, but they were just like, I don't want to do it, it's boring. And then there's some kids who do it, but they leave it at home. Yeah. Sounds like the issues with vaccine distribution. Good point, Gary. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm trying to track the questions. It's a little tricky with my double screen. So if you raise your hand, I might can see and unmute yourself.
Yeah. So for the person who said, can I forward that graphic? Are you guys okay with me sending it to Cindy, and then Cindy could send it to the rest of y'all? You okay with that, Cindy?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
We try to do that, like any slides or information. Like I have a resource list that Sarah Stallings compiled that we try to make available, where we often draw our materials from, and the mother-father agency of NAMI. So
Yeah,
yes,
because I only have that graphic as a JPEG, and it's not from a website. It's just a pic. It's just a picture.
great. I love it.
Any other questions to kind of help the general idea?
Yeah, Donna's got a question. Let's see. Let me ask to unmute. Go ahead, Donna, if you want to unmute yourself.
I noticed with my Buddhist practice of 46 years, that recently I really needed to rely on, that the study material is what enables me to change my negative thinking. I become empowered, I become encouraged, and I sort of forgot what my main point was, but I find that because I have something that happens no matter what, it's like I feel like I don't have control over it. Like it's a panic type of a thing. But in the process, it's kind of a similar thing in the process of reading about empowering things and encouraging things that change my negative thinking and my negative tendencies. That is what's really helping me, along with medications, and I've made the determination that this year that there was a thing in Buddhism called "Make this the year." This is the year that I'm going to get rid of this. And in the meantime, I'm doing pretty well with the medication. It's just triggered at certain times. It's not like 24/7. And my relationships are blossoming. So I wanted to say that too, is like by reading, material that is empowering or informative or whatever, that helps to change my thinking. I just wanted to tell you that, Geoffrey.
Thank you. Thank you. That's helpful. Yeah. I support mindfulness, Buddhism, getting to a place of being neutral and present. So we are much more effective when neutral, much more responsive as opposed to reactive. And so I support those avenues, which helps someone settle in, be neutral, and respond based upon skill set, values, principles, and goals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would-
Could you repeat that just one more time? I'm sorry. I need you to just say that again. I want to digest it.
when we are doing things and our mood is affected or we're distracted and we're really busy in the head. I mean, if I have a very busy day, I know that sometimes I will be like, oh my gosh, I've got, so many progress notes and I've got to make that phone call and that's distracting me from working with my client. So being able to go, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
So that way I'm neutral, I'm present, and I'm using my skill set and I'm working based on my values and principles and moving towards goals.
Yeah, exactly. And that helps me so much. It really does.
I dig it. I dig it. Yeah. I don't know about the statistical or clinical validity of the following, but I'm going to say something that I heard. What I heard one time is if we don't put energy and effort and entertain thoughts, negative thoughts, good thoughts, whatever, they metabolize and they drift within about a minute.
Oh, wow.
Now, I encourage folks to think about that on their own. So for example, there might be a pop-up thought like, oh my God, I've got so many progress notes to do. And if I don't entertain it, then it'll probably just drift. But if I entertain the thought, like, how am I going to get all these progress notes done? And oh my gosh, I'm going to be typing until 10 p.m. tonight. Then I'm just spinning in it. Okay. So the mindfulness is really cool because if someone doesn't put some fertilizer on the thought, then it just metabolizes. I've always held on to that when I heard it a good number of years ago because I was like, that's really interesting and that's helpful. So how can I encourage folks to be aware of that and not panic and not grab on to the fear-based thought or the depressed-based thought or the irritable-based thought? Easier said than done, but it's a really interesting thing that if we don't entertain or put energy into the thoughts, they'll metabolize and we're back to baseline. Any other questions? My cat, can anybody hear my cat? What? Yeah, baseline.
Sorry again for the double screen. Basically, these materials, we're going to keep reinforcing them, right? We hear it one time, it's like, oh, that makes sense, and then being able to kind of keep coming back to it. So the new song, the new routine, right? And being able to say, all right, I'm full, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have room for any more, but I can do, this. All right, well, that starts to change things. Oh, I can do this. Okay, that starts to change things. Or if I can't do this, I can think about what might help me. So this little toggles that can be done. And this is part of what we've been doing as a collective, as a little ways that we can help each other. I think that, Geoffrey, it's so weird to think that this is not just a common sense of, practice about how to be a human being. These techniques and the descriptions that you made of a cognitive behavior therapy feels like that should be manual of how to be a human, how to operate the machine, not a car, but this body, this physiology, these thoughts, this feeling in my gut, how to better manage that. And I long time wish that some of these techniques were taught way earlier. I don't think that they would necessarily wipe away mood disorders that occur, but I think that they would make them much easier to tolerate. Just like, any other skill set. If you have a sports injury, but you know better how to manage your body so you don't further injure it, or you help yourself so that you can heal, this is the same thing in terms of mood. So, I mean, it's funny because this so well, and yet it's like, gosh, it's really common sense stuff that could be, just let's make a song. Let's have a hit song about CBT. We're going to take just a couple minutes and thank you. This is Zoom applause. You know, when we can't interfere. I didn't do that on purpose. That was the general theme, guys. We're gonna meet again. Oh, let me do this. I'm gonna share my screen, a little bit about housekeeping. See if this will work. Share. Next month, end of February. Wow, somebody coming at the end. And we're gonna have Jennifer McNally. Let's see what I wanted to do. Is it? Hello. Skiing. We did already use that. So here's my resources, which actually look like they're sort of tiny. Ugh. But we have NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services, the North Carolina Alcoholics Anonymous, our Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. Like, there's so many more. And, you know, a lot of times I get this, you know, sense that this is just for clients or this is just for, you know, those people, but this is all of us. The thing about mood disorders is that we are all affected directly and indirectly. If somebody is off balance and they can't catch themselves, how do we help ourselves? How do we help them in these small increments? Like this is part of the, you know, what do you say when the tide rises, all boats are lifted, right? So room for a moment. One more question. Any, like this format was tricky for me to go back and forth, but how was it? Okay. All right, I'm going to stop recording.
I sent you a chat message.
Okay.